This is dropped on your Tuesday thoughts here on Soccer's Morning Show. Soccer Down Here. John, hear you there. Thanks for hanging out with us. I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I'm going to try and go the full 2 hours this morning, but one of the other me's may have to leave a little early and head down because the executive director of the Georgia High School Association is making a tour of Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and we're set to interview him for one of the other me's. So if for some reason the show ends early today, that's why. Apologies up front. And yes, I've gotten a haircut and shaved because of that. Well, because I needed a haircut and I needed to shave, but part and parcel to that too. But morning. John, hear you there. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of things to get into this morning. And it has to do with age, schedules, top leagues. Again, we've got another ranking. This one's from our friends at Opta. And there's a lot of stuff overseas. You've got the audio possibly being given to Liverpool in short order and then more widely distributed. We'll get into that. We've got stupidity down here. We've got Morning Knicks, Morning Four Card. So there's this. It's a Lanyap Tuesday. It's a lot of stuff thrown into a pile. So there's a lot of topics. We got Champions League to get into. That's going to be happening later today. We've got all your juice boxes that we can get into with all of that. What to watch, where to watch it, and literally it's going to start once again at 12:45. So viewing habits today, we'll go ahead and get into what to watch before we get into opening kickoff. BN has the Sudamericana tonight, Fortaleza and Corinthians at 8:30. Simulcast on BN in Espanol. CBS Sports Network has Copenhagen Bayern Munich at 3. Gold TV's got the Peruvian Primera, Sport Boys in Cusco at 4:15. If you don't have Gold TV, if you don't have access to BN, and you want to watch the Sudamericana, you want to watch the Brasileiro, go to our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps them out, helps us out, and it gets you BN, all the BNs, get you the Brasileiro, get you Teise, get you Gold TV, get you CDO, get you Nuestra Tele, get you For the Fans, all that stuff. Another streaming service, I know. Tuna NA's got Champions League doubleheader, 12:45 and 3, Salzburg Real Sociedad, Napoli Real Madrid. They've also got Liga MX at 11 tonight because, remember, they haven't fallen back yet or sprung forward, whichever one it is. America and Pachuca's at 11. Univision Napoli Real Madrid's at 3. ACC Extra's got 4 games at 7 o'clock. B1G Plus has 2 matches on the men's side on ESPN Plus. The championship, Stoke and Southampton at 3. A lot of action in men's college soccer, 13 games there. Flow FC's got a handful as well. They've got 6. Golazo Network has PSV and Sevilla at 3. Asian Champions League has already started. We got some news out of that from yesterday on Paramount Plus. 2 matches started at 6. 2 started at 8, including our friends at Yokohama Marinos, who might be losing their manager. Navbahor Mumbai City will be going on at the top of the hour. Then you have Al Ain Al Hal and Al Feha Paktakor and Nasaji Mazandaran and Al Hilal. Those are at noon. So 2 are at 6. 2 are going on right now. Bangkok Glass and Johor Darul Tazim. And Shandong Taishan and Yokohama Marinos at 8. The 1 at 10, and then the 3 at noon. So very, very busy day there. Champions League's also on Paramount Plus, all 8 matches. The 2 at 12:45, and then the 6 at 3 o'clock. Peacock has Luton Town and Burnley at 2:30. Remember, that's the makeup game for when Kenilworth Road was not ready at the beginning of the season. It's ready now. And so Luton, after beating Everton on the weekend, a quick turn Tuesday to play Burnley. So we'll see what happens there. All right. Four Card's got drones overhead. He's got drones. Newcastle has a big drone show planned for tonight. Photos of the rehearsal using drones to use the starting lineup and other tricks. And apparently also, according to our friends at TalkSport, they are going to be signing Bruno Guimaraes to a massive new contract with a big release clause. So keep an eye on that as well. All right. Opening kickoff Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And once again, because of the QR codes, let's see if I can block the other one. And there's the other one. All right. That's your QR code for hour number 1. And you don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. Thanks to everybody who has kicked off their days with Kickoff Coffee. See what I did there? And you get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvest it into the youth game and youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. I'm taking my hand down. Don't trigger 2 QR codes at once. You might confuse your phone. There and there. All right. If you were leading something, if you were the top dog, if you were the dude, if you were number 1 in the clubhouse, and you recently won something, but you didn't win everything, then my question is, are you happy with just winning the first thing that comes in the door? Apparently, Pat Noonan is. This was yesterday at their press availability. And it seems, and like I said, I know that I'm playing this for effect. It seems that Pat Noonan and FC Cincinnati are happy with the appetizer plate. They're happy with it. They're happy with the Captain America shield. Nothing else. Here's what he said yesterday at their press briefing, their daily press briefing, and it's kind of off in the distance, so I had to completely and totally jack up the audio, and so I'm going to apologize for that immediately. Going to apologize immediately for it. So we'll see. We'll see how well this plays out. And I hope I don't hurt your ears, but this is what Pat Noonan said yesterday at practice about what they've already won.
It's the consistency of the team over the course of a season. And, for me now, and even my own opinion of this change, I think that has now surpassed MLS Cup in terms of relevance. And that's not to take away the desire for our team to hold an MLS Cup trophy, but for that group to be the top team over the course of the season, I think is very meaningful. And the hope is that we can find a way to achieve both, but that's how I feel about the support.
So and like I said, I'm sorry that was as distant as it was. But the bottom line is, getting the supporter shield for Pat Noonan. Once again, thanks to our friend Pat Brennan at the Cincinnati Enquirer for that sound. Pat Noonan, quote, I think getting the supporter shield, I think that has now surpassed MLS Cup in terms of relevancy. That's not to take away the desire for our team to hold an MLS Cup trophy. Getting the supporter shield has surpassed MLS Cup in terms of relevancy. This is probably a minority opinion. But I could probably tell you 17 other teams that will be making the postseason that would be more than happy for Pat Noonan and FC Cincinnati to just hang on to the supporter shield. You've had a great year. Now step aside. We're trying to win an MLS Cup. Your schedules aren't balanced anymore. You've got a lot of teams that you've got to sort through. And so in this Eastern Conference or conference stilted schedule that's out now, you won the supporter shield by winning a lot of games against teams in your own conference. But Pat Noonan thinks it's surpassed MLS Cup in terms of relevancy. Unbalanced schedule and all. He's cool with it. He thinks it means more. So, sure. You go right ahead. 13-1-1 at home. You took care of business. You got 3 matches left. 6-3-7 away from home. So you're below 500 away from home. You're not the only one. But, yeah, you took care of business at home. Good on you. You're happy with the Supporter Shield at 65 points. And that is, to you, more relevant than winning an MLS Cup. Are you setting up your fans just in case you don't win the last match of the year? We've had a great season. So instead of it being, we had a great season, but we had a great year. We won the Supporter Shield. And if you don't win the last match of the year, hey, we had a great year. We won Supporter Shield. Pat Noonan, I believe, is in a minority opinion. And like I said, there are 17 other teams that will make the postseason. They'll sit there and go, bruh, you can keep your pie plate. Well, we want the big trophy at the end of the year. Knicks, the only people that deal that way, Supporter Shield more important than Cup, are the Supporter Shield winners. David, it's great, but Ricky, correct. When you don't play 25% of the league, it means less. Unless you're in Cincinnati, where you're happy. Ricky is seeing as MLS Cup put stars on your kit, and that's who the champion's determined as. It'll always be more relevant than Supporter Shield. You mean they don't put pie plates on kits and jerseys? They don't do that. You get the warm up jacket available at the FC Cincinnati store with the Captain America shield on it. Definitely trying to cushion their untimely failure to not win MLS Cup. And then Ricky says you can take the Noonan out of Philly, but you can't take the Philly out of Noonan. So, yeah, I saw that yesterday, and like I said, I apologize for the lack of quality in the sound, but I thought that it was important for it to be heard. So, congratulations, Pat Noonan. You won the Captain America Shield. You won the appetizer plate. Everybody else wants the other one. You can have yours. Everybody else wants the other one. So, to Ricky's point, definitely trying to cushion an untimely failure to not win MLS Cup. On that note, that's opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And once again, hiding QR codes from separate hours. There's your QR code for hour number 1 as I cover up the QR code for hour number 2. Don't forget, once again, use the QR code there on the screen. And you use the code Soccer Down Here 15. You get 15% off your purchase at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Then at the same time, they'll in turn take 10% reinvested into the youth game and youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Pulling my hand down to not confuse your phone. All right. Other thing that I wanted to get into, you mentioned, Ricky, not taking the Noonan out of Philly, the Philly out of Noonan. Interesting stuff yesterday from Andre Blake, and I wanted to get into this as well since we're in the MLS block of the show. And Andre Blake may not be involved in the match with Atlanta United tomorrow because he's had a bit of a muscle tweak. And so it might be Joe Bendik between the sticks for Philadelphia tomorrow. Once again, for those of you who are going, Rich has invited us and invited you. I am not going. I'll be watching from Office HD. Those of you who are going to Chester, he has invited you to the Sons of Ben tailgate. Be nice. Be nice. And so Andre Blake, once again at the press availability, Jonathan Tannenwald was there. And Andre Blake is not a current fan of the schedule. And so he is calling for players to push for change. Quote, we're the ones that are suffering, and the quality of the league is going to go down. It's ridiculous, and players have to speak up. And there have been various players that, that have been discussing what's been going on with the league. Right now, it could be 54 matches for Philadelphia this season. By the time things are over and you make your way through all the way, you could have played 54 matches. Andre Blake criticized MLS for overloading the schedule. Regular season playoff, Leagues Cup, Open Cup, if I could get my upper plate to work, and Champions League, if a team qualifies for it. The Union had been in all four. Third place game, Leagues Cup, Champions League semis. So here's what Blake said, quote, full quote, we're the ones that are suffering and the quality of the league is going to go down. Are you going to allow us to have more depth? Or if you ask players to play however many games, obviously there's going to be injuries, and when injuries come, then teams don't have their best players on the field. Once again, Blake called the situation ridiculous, and players have to speak up. Jack Elliott, everyone within the teams knows something has to be done about that. I think there will probably be some conversations about it with the amount of games that go on, especially for teams that play in Champions League as well. Just adds another element of having to travel more, having to play more, and then Leagues Cup, obviously. Elliott and Blake spoke Saturday night in Columbus after the Union played their latest game without Glesnes, Jose Martinez, and Leon Flock. Glesnes and Flock are dealing with groin area injuries, a sign of potential overuse. This is once again from Jonathan Tannenwald. Blake is also dealing with groin pain, as he has a few times over the years. Flared up during the Union's game against Dallas. Blake avoided taking goal kicks Saturday as a precaution. Elliott, quote, I think that there has to be a conversation, and hopefully it goes well for everyone. Elliott did single out Leagues Cup as one that he wasn't a fan of. Started 2019, 2020 merit-based. 8 top teams from La Liga, 4 from MLS conferences that didn't reach Champions League. 22, when you're catching up with the calendar from 20 and 21, goes on a 1-year hiatus. Then Leagues Cup came back, and it is what it is. Jim Curtin last week. There's been a million competitions. There's been almost confusion as to what counts for the most and what's the best. Once again, remember the playoff format for this year. Best of 3. It's not just the one and done. As Curtin said in February, you work all season in the 34 regular season games to earn the home field advantage. We had to win 2 home games last year to get to a final. That's a real reward for having a great regular season, Andre Blake. Blake said Saturday, playoff format was changed without MLSPA's approval. A separate source confirmed that, and said approval wasn't required. Quote, even with the new playoffs format, the last thing we need now are more games and more travels. This is Blake. I think it's ridiculous, and I think something like this should never be approved without the players having a say. Then next year, the U.S. is going to guest host an expanded version of the Copa America. 6 North American nations join all 10 South American teams. A lot of MLS players will be involved. Tournament scheduled traditionally from June 20 to July 14th. The league will go, traditionally, they'll go dark for these long tournaments, but will they in 2021? So, Andre Blake not happy. Jack Elliott not happy. Jim Curtin wasn't happy when everything started. And Ricky, right on. I'm right there with you. 2-leg all the way to MLS Cup. I'd be a fan of that. I would dig that. But I think that this once again reinforces that it's not as much, from my perspective, it's not as much as the scheduling and the tournaments and all this stuff. But the league has to adapt to having players being more readily available. expand your rosters, first and foremost. Have that access be a lot better off. What I would also propose in this is kind of like what you see in the NBA. You sign them to, and we see this with the hardship contracts and stuff with Major League Soccer. But what you see right now in Major League Soccer is the hardship contract, and you can only do that X number of times a year, and you can only have a player play X number of times. Blow that up. You can't restrict player activity and sit there and it's like, okay, we need you to sit on the bench to take up space, and then you can't play. I think you've got to expand the rosters, and you've got to change accessibility for players that are available to you through MLS Next Pro or what have you. Whatever means you wish. You want to call somebody direct up from your academy, like if you're Sacramento and you want to bring in Davian Kimbrough to be a part of your roster. And we'll get into him and down the line here this morning. But you can't just sit there and go, okay, hardship deal, you can do it 5 times, but you can only play twice. I think you've got to make that access easier for teams. Hey, I need to bring somebody up. Okay, great, fine. You bring them up. End of story. I mean, that really should be the end of the discussion, because if you are in your Major League Soccer schedule and you still are active in Open Cup, and legitimately LAFC tried to get rid of all of that. LAFC wanted to blow themselves out of League Cup, and they still couldn't do it. We welcome back Jared Smith. Welcome back from vacation and stuff.
Thank you.
Now, I was getting into the comments from Andre Blake about scheduling and complaining in general about what's wrong with schedule, too many games and injuries and all that kind of stuff. And the biggest point that I was trying to make was, in all of this, is that players are mad. Yeah, I get it. But I think what you can do if you're Major League Soccer is first and foremost take the hardship deal and blow it up. If a player's available, like in the NBA, sign them to a 10-day deal. Doesn't matter how many times they yo-yo up and down, back and forth. If they're available to you, have them do more than just sit on a bench and only be available a couple of times out of the year. If you're good, you're going to be playing upwards of 54, 55 matches in a season. But you've got to have access to your roster depth to do it. You can't just sit there and hamstring your teams and go, yeah, you can bring them up, but you can only play them a certain number of times. I think that's where, at least for me, that's where this starts. You've got to expand your rosters, and don't freak out about accessibility coming from MLS Next Pro and hardship rules and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot you can do for just modifying everything, for restructuring how we deal with players moving up and down. Now, some of the problems you're going to run into is with some of these kids out of the academy is, and take this up with the NCAA, that if they're playing with the second team, even if it's MLS Next Pro, it doesn't count against their college eligibility.
Right.
Even when they were playing in USL for the second team, that didn't count against college eligibility, but MLS does, because the NCAA doesn't make sense. Because the NCAA is nuttier than a fruitcake.
Yeah, well.
And they don't make sense, and they're dumb. These are people who went to federal court and damn near got laughed out of federal court. You loosen up those possibilities for guys to be able to kind of go back and forth. Take the Gwinnett shuttle that we think about with the Braves. We used to be the Richmond Express. Free up those opportunities. I know they've talked about adding another DP spot. Expand out the amount of money that teams can spend to try and find that balance and be able to add to that depth. Because it's great that you can run your first choice 11 out there and any given Sunday, especially with the Mexican clubs nowadays. I think we've seen on any given Sunday, MLS can throw punches.
Yeah.
But that depth is the same. It's not exactly the same, but it is similar to what we talk about with USL teams. That a USL team can go throw punches with they can go throw punches with an MLS team. We saw Memphis do it against Atlanta when they beat them. We've seen a number of teams do it over the years in the US Open Cup. In one-offs, that's fine. It's hard to sustain it when you don't have the depth. And that's where you have to expand it. And that's where you have to expand rosters and expand possibilities.
Mm-hmm. And the other element that we were getting into in opening kickoff this morning was the thought that Pat Noonan is happy with the appetizer plate, nothing else.
I'm happy with the. I'd be happy with the appetizer plate if I were him as well. Like, yeah, you took a team that was a laughing stock because, man, like we think about. I feel like we think about how insane it has been with we think about how insane it has been with Cincinnati over the last few years when they were picking up the wooden spoon, and they weren't just bad; they were embarrassing. It was Jaap Stam era. It was awful. Yeah, I'd be happy with this Shield. I still personally don't trust Cincinnati in the playoffs.
No, and
because they have a tendency to fall behind, and the playoffs are a different animal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of that might be, they've been there once, and some of that might be more experience. They'll be fine. I still don't necessarily trust them because they like to fall behind, and it's tougher to come back in the playoffs because teams get cagey and they get very deliberate and defensive. And it's tougher to live that way.
I mean, Pat Noonan has said that capturing the Supporters Shield has surpassed MLS Cup in terms of relevancy.
I mean, if you want to get out there and, do your propaganda thing, I'm not gonna tell you you're wrong to do it, but we are gonna call a spade, man. Like, it's the trophy you just won. Of course you feel that way. And I know a couple people over the mothership, MLS mothership, feel that way about it. I very much do not, especially with an unbalanced schedule. Now, I understand the logic of it's 8 months of sustained success. It's how other leagues measure themselves around the world. The MLS isn't other leagues. Other leagues also do playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
You want to keep it more localized. John, how much weight do you put into the President's Cup? President's Trophy?
Bupkis.
It's nice. Like,
yeah,
it was nice when Boston won it last year.
You hang a banner over it. Hey, we got the most points. Here's a banner.
And then what did Boston do in the first round of the playoffs?
That would be Sad Trombone, I believe. They did not win the Showcase Showdown. That
was one of the highlights of my 2023. Not the highlight, but it was one of the higher points of my sporting 2023, which watching the Boston Bruins lose. So it's beautiful. You love to see it. And it's great that we put value on Supporters Shield. It was even better back in the day when you had a balanced schedule.
Yeah, and this is the biggest thing. You don't have a balanced schedule now, so how can you sit there and say, well, oh, by the way, yeah, we're the I want to enjoy this. I want to enjoy the Supporters Shield because it means more than MLS Cup. When you take care of business at home, you do all that. You take care of business in your conference. It's like President's Cup. It's just like, yeah, whatever. Good on you. Congratulations. You got a big ass pie plate. Did you win the whole thing at the end? No. Ricky, who won the Shield in 2015? He has no idea. Who won MLS Cup in 2015? Portland. That's how we roll with this stuff. We remember the end. We don't remember the getting to the end. I mean,
yeah.
Ugh. But I think that once again, Ricky mentioned that this is kind of setting up Cincinnati fan for if they don't win it all. Hey, look what we did. We got Supporters Shield, Big Ben Parliament.
And look, it is still a trophy, and it still matters. Just don't give me the North Korea propaganda about. I think it has surpassed MLS Cup. Like, no, it hasn't.
No, it hasn't.
It's still important. Don't get me wrong. It's still one of the major trophies. It's still part of a treble. If you're going to go for a treble, you have to win that one. Absolutely. It's important. But no, no, I reject this.
I reject. Yeah, well, but Ricky, I think that you're spot on. Ricky says it's worth celebrating for sure. It's just dumb to make that argument. And
it is, but it's an argument being made by a guy who his team just won it and won it after being trash for a long time.
Yeah,
celebrate it, but you can celebrate it and have fun, but you don't gotta go there.
It's like, bruh,
you don't have to make bad decisions. You don't have to make, but it also got people talking, and it accomplished that goal, I guess, and whatever.
Yeah. Yes, Mazel Tov.
So it doesn't cover up for Skyline Chili existing.
Oy. Rich, as a recipient of a shield, it's an important trophy, but really its most importance is the CCL spot that goes with it. See, now
yes, I completely agree. And to that point, I'm excited by the amount of teams that get to go into CCL going forward because of the modified format.
Yeah.
And I don't think it diminishes it at all. And if anyone says that, you should hit them with a rubber chicken on the nose. Because that will minimize the felony or misdemeanor charges.
Mm-hmm.
And I am very excited about CONCACAF Champions League having more spots. But yeah, it's an important trophy. Yeah. It shouldn't be just poo-pooed and swept away. Yeah, you get a CCL spot coming with it. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, Ricky. No one cares Alabama won the SEC in 2021 when Georgia won the national championship. Just ask Jason. Absolutely. David, Cincinnati, celebrate it. Yes, agreed. But focus on finishing this, Cincy. Take your W, but want the next more. Rich also won the league in 2020. Damn you, Americans! I have this vision. I have this vision of Rich on his front porch with his morning cup of coffee, wearing a Bimbo jersey, and shaking his fist out in the direction of Chester. Damn you, Americans, and your playoffs! I just have this vision of a closed-up fist. And wow.
Hey, look, Philadelphia did almost everything right last year up until the final 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Of the MLS Cup?
Yeah. About right.
I mean, I don't hold anything. I credit Gareth Bale more than I blame Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Gareth Bale made magic happen.
He did.
Philadelphia, you suffered. And look, if you're going to feel sorry for a sports town right now, feel sorry for Philadelphia during that stretch because that's a team that lost the Super Bowl, lost the World Series, lost the MLS Cup in rapid succession.
That's true.
And I wouldn't wish that on anybody, honestly, because I've seen some tough losses in my day.
Yeah, that's true. Morning, Nick.
Greetings and salutations.
Wow, where it's welcome back to the both of you. I mean, Nick's got like the real world and stuff, and Jarrett goes on vacation, and then we start having a discussion about where Pat Noonan feels that it's cool to have the Supporter Shield and nothing more. It's like it's more relevant than MLS Cup, and both of you just parachute in. Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been been off shooting photos and videos and various topics, giving what's really terrifying is that I was asked to appear at in a classroom with a bunch of kids to talk about art. So that was, very brave for the teacher. We had great conversations. I feel good about the youth. I don't feel good about the middle age and up, though, with stupid comments like, the Supporter Shield means more than MLS Cup. I'm sorry. I'm reminded of what John Moxley said about CM Punk.
Yeah.
He's like, enjoy this while you can. Weak mind, weak body, weak ego. To me, that's all it is. It's weak mind, weak body, weak ego. You're setting yourself up for your fans up for disappointment, right? Just like, hey, look, disappointment's right around the corner. Just be happy with the prize we have now. Don't look downfield because you know what's going to happen, right? We're too tired to compete for that long in our style of play, and me. Nobody. To me, it's the dumbest thing, right? I don't care how they do it in Italy, right? Captain Serie A, I don't care how they do it. They settle it in Italy. I don't care how they settle it in England or Spain or France. And I don't care about what any of these prim-faced people say, because all of them go absolutely DEFCON 1 Chernobyl meltdown for Champions League playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
They love it. Oh my God, this matchup we have. Oh my God, we love the World Cup. Oh my God, guess what it is? Playoff format. So don't sit here and give me this little runaround mess of, the Supporter Shield's the best thing of all. Get a star above your crest and call it good, right? Then you can have conversations. Until then, you're at the kids' table.
Surpassing MLS Cup in terms of relevancy, winning the Captain America Shield, winning the appetizer plate. Are you cushioning the blow when you don't win?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's all it is. You're just cushioning. You're just saying, hey, look, in case we don't do anything else, it's like, I mean, it's fine, I guess. It's like, we're stopping at Epcot and not going into Magic Kingdom. That's exactly what it is. We're just, you can look over and see Magic Kingdom, but we're not going over there. We're not taking the tram over. We're just going to stay right here in Epcot. That's all we're doing. And the kids yell and scream and moan, why can't we go to the Magic Kingdom? Because we're just, that's not where we belong. Okay. So take your second place prize, take your best, okay. But just let's for all the people who think that that's how we need to rate things. Okay. Let's just throw that out there. Right. There are times when the team with the best record doesn't get the job done.
Wait, what?
I know it's really crazy, right? I remember when the Minnesota Vikings were like 15-1, and then Atlanta rolled up there, and then Gary Anderson, misplaced field goal, sent the Falcons to the Super Bowl. That was really cool. Remember when Tom Brady and Randy Moss were putting up blank U touchdowns after Deflategate and went undefeated in the regular season, only to go and get handled by the dirt-faced killer Eli Manning in the Super Bowl? Yep. Okay.
Dirt-faced killer. I have to remember.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting. And then it's the same thing in baseball, right? There are times in baseball where
Seattle Mariners and Brett Boone.
Yeah, look, man, it happens. There's a reason why we settle it on the field, because it's exciting and it's amazing. And if you don't like that, go play somewhere where they do normalized, standardized, race to the top for the end of the season. And then you can end up with the situation where you have like a Man City going absolutely buck wild and they're able to rest half their team for the final 6 weeks of the season because all they care about is Champions League. Because they're so infinitely far ahead that no one's catching them. And the title race is decided in like February. Really, is that exciting? Who is that exciting for? Because then you're just worried about the relegation side. Like, oh man, we got a very exciting relegation chase at the bottom. I mean, come on, man. It's Mom, I want McDonald's. We got McDonald's at home. It's like 2 pieces of white bread and 6-day-old ground beef. I mean, come on, man. Like, this ain't McDonald's. I mean, it's bootleg. Don't Demand more. You want to win out. It's not that hard.
Expand your rosters. Make the hardship rule easy. Make the Gwinnett Shuttle an easy thing to do, and it doesn't count against your system. All those kinds of things.
Hey, Philly. Remember when you guys, and I love Philly. I love Philly. Remember when you guys were all like, Atlanta's the greatest city of choke artists of all time. Blah, 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 blah. Atlanta was able to win a title in the playoffs. Why can't you? Why can't you? It's not that hard, right? It's the greatest city of choke artists of all time. I mean, I don't know. The Braves were able to go through a playoff series, and the Braves got it done, right? Why can't the Union? Talk to me about that. Why can't the Union bring a championship home to Subaru? Why can't they? Why can't they do that? I'm just curious. Please answer me.
Phillies won in 08, according to
the Phillies won, Rich. But what about the Union? Why can't the Union get it done?
All right, let's do this. Oh my God.
Yeah.
God bless them, because I'll have the team I will have a soft spot for up there is the Eagles, just for two reasons.
Yeah.
Hugh played there. He was good people.
True. Yes.
And he could have crushed me with one hand if he wanted to. He didn't.
Yeah.
So he's good people. Also, they did everything they could to rip the soul out of Tom Brady. And
that's true.
Personally enjoyed, and the fact that it was Nick Foles, it wasn't even Carson Wentz. It was like Nick Foles, who might as well have been picked up at an ASPCA event with Sarah McLachlan singing in the background, thrown into that starting lineup. And I choose to believe that he started the downward trend of, like, I get Brady Warren another one. I get it. But I choose to believe he started the downward trend of Brady. that one more Super Bowl, one or two more, whatever it was. That was the swan song. That's fine. But Nick Foles did everything he could, and Philadelphia did everything they could to rip out Tom Brady's soul. And I appreciate that about them. The Eagles are fine with me.
Yes.
I'm good with the Eagles as well, mainly because my great uncle played there.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Yeah, so I'm good with the Eagles. The Phillies, I'm kind of ambivalent about, like,
the Phillies are insanely fun. The Phillies are a team, and by the way, playoff baseball starts today. Rich, back me up on this.
Couldn't tell you who's in it.
I could accept Philadelphia rolling their way to another World Series, or getting absolutely smashed by the Marlins in 2 games. Like, both are entirely possible, because that team runs so incredibly hot and cold at times. Their leadoff hitter, Kyle Schwarber, hit under 200 and hit 42 home runs, I think.
Yes.
They are a hilariously hot and cold team, and it makes for incredibly fun neutral viewing. Also, Bryce Harper might be the most Philadelphia non-Philadelphia native I've ever seen. Like, that man just became the city, and it works. Like last week when he got thrown out of a game, threw his helmet into the crowd.
That was great.
The kid caught the helmet. He had security get the helmet back. Then he signed the helmet and gave it back to the kid.
That's epic.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's good stuff. You know, like the Eagles, to me, I worked for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tony Dungy's last season in charge and John Gruden's first season in charge, right? So I'm pretty familiar. Like, I met a lot of the Eagles players. They were all great to me, right? I never found, even when the Eagles tried making that like the greatest team ever assembled, paper champions team, never found them making excuses, right? Same with the Phillies, right? Never had an issue with the Phillies. Never heard them making excuses. There always seems to be a mountain of excuses coming out of Subaru. God, and I'm tired of hearing it. I'm tired of hearing this almost like WWE promo every time something goes a little sideways, where this happened, we did this, and this is more important, and then when something goes wrong, then it's all like, oh well, we don't get the funding that anyone else gets, and it really is like, it's just mind bending to me, the whiny weakness that it just gets dropped by Philly. Like, oh God, yes, the Sixers. Yeah, the Sixers had a lot of excuses. Yes, Ricky, that's correct. But and I love the Sixers, right? That was my team. I loved they.
Just because AI was
everything.
He was just perfect.
But it really was like, to me, it's mind-bending that the Union keep getting away with what they're getting away with, which is one where they foul the living crap out of you the entire first half, and then I'm trashing the Union. I will jump on the Cincy bandwagon here, just in the Slaughter bandwagon in just a moment. But to me, it's I'm tired of the excuses there. And as the warlord of the press, right, the king of all things press, I'm tired of these pressing teams really making excuses at the end of the season and putting up all these like fake things that explain away why they're so great. We saw it with the Red Bulls, we saw it with the Union, and we're seeing it now with Cincy, right, where the Red Bulls were all like, oh, well, we've won X number of supporter shields. Good. Then why don't you just rest if you don't care about MLS Cup, then why don't you just bench your entire starting lineup and run the kids out for the playoffs? Oh, you ran a first team lineup out. Oh, I guess that means you're trying to win. So don't talk to me about any of that crap. And it's going to be interesting to see how Cincy handles, the postseason. It's are they going to be able to keep that energy up? Are the Union going to be able to keep energy up? It's going to be interesting to see, because if you can't hit the brakes at some point and be competitive, you're gonna have some problems.
By the way, it was the 2011 Eagles that I was thinking of. That was the dream team.
Yes,
that was when Vic came back.
Oh God, what a show,
dude! Like the most. You remember the movie The Replacements, where like they get Orlando Jones and they tell Keanu Reeves' character, like, we got you a wide receiver even you can't overthrow. And that's what Deshaun Watson was for Vic. Because go back to that one game against Washington where like the first play from like
Deshaun Jackson.
Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah.
Where Vic, like from the 8-yard line, throws it like 60 yards in the air as far as he can. Deshaun Jackson catches it. And then that just starts like Vic going off for like 400 yards and 100 yards rushing. And God, that was an amazing team. However, that was also the year they had they brought in Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie, Nnamdi Asomugha. Like they brought in like all these guys, and then it was good, but it wasn't. I think they were 8-8 or 9-7 that year. And everyone just expected so much more out of them, but because they had brought in all of these amazing guys, it just didn't work. But on the other hand, they did draft Jason Kelce that year. Hey, you got something good out of it.
Yes, exactly. We were talking about leagues, and our friends at Opta, and this is where we get into our multiple choice test of the day. Our friends at Opta have ranked the top 30 leagues in the world. And we talk about everything that's wrong with this, with Major League Soccer and everything that needs to change. Opta came out with their power rankings with an ability score based on, factors and stats, and God forbid there'd be math involved. 0 is the worst, 100 is the best. Currently, the top-ranked club is Manchester City, and then what they do is they take all of the teams and then they come up with an average. So I've got the list of the top 30. Where do you think Major League Soccer is in this list? Nick?
7.
Jarrett?
13.
Jared's closer. 15.
What?
Like I said, it's a bunch of math. But the Saudi Pro League stormed up the rankings. They're at 27.
Stormed.
Mexico's Liga MX is at 22, behind Bundesliga B and the Argentine League and the Polish League and La Liga. La Liga is 17, by the way. Major League Soccer, according to Opta and their rankings, is 15, 2 spots ahead of La Liga.
Well, if you remove 2 of those teams, right? I think it kind of starts getting justified, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's the thing. It's like you sit there and you grab the numbers and then you take your average, and that's where you are. But MLS is at 15. The Danish Superliga is at 14. The Russian Premier League is at 13. The Turkish Super League is at 12. Swiss Super League at 11. Brazilian Serie A is at 10. Belgium, Portugal, the Eredivisie, the Championship is listed at number 6. Ligue 1, Spanish La Liga, Serie A ranked at number 3, Bundesliga, Premier League, and the Premier League is 3.62 points ahead of the Bundesliga in this competition. That's as of September of 2023. Major League Soccer 15 ahead of Liga MX and ahead of La Liga 2 in Spain, ahead of Austria, Poland, La Liga 2, Argentine League, Bundesliga B, Mexico. But the Premier League, not a surprise at number 1. But the fact that MLS is 7 spots ahead of Liga MX, right there in the middle of things. But then right above them, the Danish Superliga, Russia, Turkey, Switzerland, Brazilian Serie A, Belgium, Portugal, the Eredivisie. The Championship for me at number 6 is the one that rubs me the wrong way. But of course, you know, the superiority of the British game and all that kind of stuff. So that was what I thought was intriguing. But once again, it's numbers, and I get confused with numbers. David is asking, Nick, is the Taxman going to relegate Juve?
Should they? Yes. Will they? No. There's not the political will to do it. There's just not the political will to do it. I mean, it's yeah, they should, but they won't. I mean, really, the team should be folded, because if it's a publicly traded entity and you have been busted for cooking the books, I don't know how you can keep the business in operation.
Yeah.
I just don't. And that's that. I don't care if it's what company it is. If you are a publicly traded company, if they were a privately owned organization, like if, you know, the Agnelli's owned it lock, stock, and barrel, then I would not have that. Then I'm going to say, yeah, sure, relegate them to City B and have fun. But as a publicly traded company, I don't know how you remain in operation if you're busted for cooking the books. It makes no sense to me.
We are approaching 10 o'clock, which means that it's time for me to read something and figure out if I'm looping music and when I don't.
John.
Yes.
Okay, I picked Jack up from football practice yesterday.
Yeah.
I have a major problem here. The pads smell like rotting gerbils. It smells horrific.
What has it done to your house, Nick?
It made the house smell terribly, but I'm tired of using masking agents. John, what should I use?
Well, let's find out, shall we? Maybe you should use our friends at Eliminize. The Eliminize service. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you who are watching, not just on Twitch, but on the Twitters and on the Facebook. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. Eliminize deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. Thank you, Ricky, for telling me what it is. Still don't quite necessarily understand it. But it's a turnkey process, makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment that I know about, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or those masking agents that Nick is tired of using inside of his home. Because when you reach under the sink or above you in the cupboard, wherever you hide that masking agent and keep it away from, young children and pets and things, and you spray that masking agent in the air, there's a reason they call it a masking agent. It just masks the odor. It does not attack the issue like our friends at Eliminize Service do with their proven scientific formula, destroying odors down to the molecule. Pricing very, very easy. Either by the cubic foot or parts per million to come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go, it's the website. And that is eliminize.com. But do us a favor here at SDH. This is where I grab my pen. After the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from so they can help you with your issues. Full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, eliminize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH on your Tuesday. So, Nick, does that help you in any way? Does it? Does it help you, Nick? Does it? I hope it does, because that's what our friends from Eliminize Service do. So,
think he died.
No, John muted me is what happened.
I did no such thing,
John
sir.
muted me.
I did no such.
As I was proclaiming that does help me tremendously, because when you have a teenage boy in the house, they are naturally funky creatures and smell terrible.
Yes. And
so I will be calling our friends at Eliminize.
I just broke my pen, by the way. I don't know how I did it, but literally I just broke the pen. I don't know how that happened. So what happens, I guess, when I mute Nick or something, that pens break and things like that. All right, see if you guys can guess as we start hour number 2. See if you guys can guess who said this. And it was in an interview with one of our favorite, and I put an asterisk by that term, self-important talk show hosts overseas. We can all pretty much figure out who that is. So, who said this about a particular coach? Quote, Ajax is a talented club. They have the best talents in the club. They don't have big stars. What is the experience of this coach? Young talents. He comes to United. It is a different mentality, different players. The players there are supposed to be big stars. He is in a different situation. I can imagine him coming from Ajax to United is a big difference because I've been in both clubs. It's a different kind of approach. There you have a different kind of discipline. You come to United and do the same thing. I don't believe it is the same treatment you give. But, he continues, I don't say it's the coach's fault because experience you cannot buy. You just have to get time to get the experience. But it's two different situations, being in Ajax and being in United. Then if it's his fault, I don't think, because I think everybody is responsible for the whole situation. We are a piece of a puzzle from the big puzzle. Everybody has a responsibility to do and to fulfill the demands. United has to win. They have to win every title they play for. Now, they're being dominated by the neighbors, and it's a totally different situation there. You need to find the right path, and again, to push for that. This individual was asked if this particular coach was out of his depth. This particular individual said, I think he needs more time to get the experience, how to handle a team. You don't get time like that, the interviewer said. No, obviously not, because we need to win. He would continue, but can you guys guess which individual said that about the particular situation going on at a big-named club in England? Jarrett?
Piers Morgan.
Okay, that's your interviewer. That is correct. That is the interviewer. Who is the interviewee? Who was he talking to? Who gave us that lovely soundbite? I
have no idea.
Oh, well, Nick, maybe this will give it to you. You come to when I was in Milan, I cannot give you time to develop, to perform. You need to perform straight because, like I said, survival mode. It's you or another one because United is in a situation. You don't do good enough, the next day there's another one, and the result speaks for itself. So that's why it's tricky.
Oh, Zlatan? Was this Zlatan?
Absolutely correct. Zlatan and Piers Morgan discussing Erik ten Hag.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh-huh. And so I don't know why people legitimately want to sit down with that particular individual. I really don't. Meaning Piers Morgan. I have zero issue with grabbing Zlatan if he wants to talk. But why would you want to sit down with Piers Morgan? It's a battle of egos.
Well, because you know that if you don't, he's going to hack your phone. So,
well, that might be true.
Better just go on the show, clown him, and then leave.
There you go. All right. So a couple of other things. There were some things that you guys didn't get to discuss yesterday. And I wanted to discuss with you guys what went down with with VAR in England and the larger picture.
Well, I thought you were about to ask me about Michael Beale, but okay.
Well, that's probably one of the shorter Q&As. About 10 months and Beale out the door at QP with Rangers after QPR. He's like, yeah, I'm here, but no, I'm gone.
After he snakes the job by showing up and basically like talking his way into them firing GVB and taking the job and then choking.
Yes. Morning, Alex. No, never late. But with we got into the discussion yesterday, and we actually brought Bart in 2 days early to discuss what happened with Liverpool and Spurs and VAR and all of the madness there. Apparently, Howard Webb and the PGMOL is going to give the in-house audio to Liverpool to listen to. I don't know what recourse they have, but when you have two guys, Nick, who ref in the UAE, which is a 7-hour flight from England, and then come back, and then they're your VAR and your AVAR, then what in the blue hell? I mean, it was shocking, but you sit there and you look at all these other things when you've now had an extra day to kind of look at things. When you look at what happened there with VAR and go ahead and say the country name as you say it, because I don't have the pipes for it.
England.
Thank you. So when you look at this entire situation and you've had the chance to, what comes to mind with this situation with you now that apparently the audio is going to be given to Liverpool?
Just release the information in totality. Don't selectively edit anything. Bring all the information to bear. And I'll put it this way: when the evidence has had its say, then issue repercussions. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. Everyone is ripping VAR now, right? Everyone's ripping VAR. I get it, but let's not forget that without VAR, the U.S. men's national team is having a very different experience in the 2002 World Cup. Italy's having a very different experience in the 2002 World Cup. Ireland would be having a World Cup experience because a certain handball from Chiellini would have been called. VAR has ensured that teams in MLS have moved on in the playoffs. VAR has ensured that teams make it above the playoff line. And VAR has, saw its way to making sure that a large number of sporting injustices have been rectified. But people have to decide what they want. Do you want the WWE? The referee's back is turned and he's got the steel chair. Just turn around. Do you want that? I mean, okay, great. But at some point, you're going to be the person who's going to pay for it. Your team's going to be on the receiving end of horrific officiating. The game's too fast. The game requires VAR. VAR should not be going anywhere. But in this situation, let the evidence have its say. And from there, if punishment needs to be doled out, then you know what to do. I think it's that simple. I don't think there's any kind of crazy grandstanding that needs to happen outside of that.
Jarrett, reviews underway with VAR Darren England, assistant VAR Dan Cook failing to overturn the on-field decision after replay showed Luis Diaz clearly onside. They've agreed to PGMOL, that's basically the English version of Pro, agreed to Liverpool's request to release the audio of the exchange between ref Simon Hooper and those in the VAR room. They've received the audio set to be made public, and obviously when it is, we'll air it here too. In a strongly worded statement on Sunday, Liverpool argued sporting integrity had been undermined and said they would explore, this is in quotes, explore the range of options available given the clear need for escalation and resolution. What in the hell?
Okay, so what you're dealing with here is two separate things, because you have to be careful when you phrase things. Because are you describing something as being malicious or being incompetent? Because those are two very different things. Are you arguing that the officials were malicious in their decisions, or are they incompetent? Because those are, again, two different things and two very different serious accusations. One more serious than the other. Telling a ref he does not know his ass from a hole in deep center field is different from telling him he is a cheat. You got to be careful with those sorts of things.
Yes. So what does Liverpool want out of this? According to our friends at The Athletic, they accept the outcome. I mean, we played the Jurgen Klopp soundbite. Are we going to get the extra points out of this? No. So we played that soundbite yesterday. They lose 2-1. That's not going to change. No demand that the match be replayed, and there won't be one. So what does Liverpool want? A transparent investigation. This is what the wording from our friends at The Athletic overseas. Into the procedural failings so lessons are learned going forward. Immediate priorities are to establish what form the review will take, who will oversee it, and what role the Premier League will play in it. Audio should provide clear understanding into how and why Diaz's goal was disallowed. They want to know why the decision was taken so quickly, why there was no intervention when the mix-up quickly became apparent. No anger at Darren England, the gentleman, not the country. And they tried to move the focus away from the VAR, and they weren't happy with the PGMOL blaming, quote, significant human error. Liverpool insists their focus is on the process rather than the individual. Laws of the game were not applied. Correct outcome wasn't reached due to a failure of VAR protocols. And so Jason Nix is like, take the VAR's phones while they're at work. Clearly, they're distracted while they are at work.
Well, I think rugby's kind of shows the way on this, where the officials, have to talk through it. The officials have to talk through a penalty. The officials, and it's broadcast, right? I mean, it's broadcast.
And we heard it in the Women's World Cup. After you go to the monitor, they come back out on the field, they explain what the decision was all about, and then you move on.
Right, and to me, that is, it makes sense. Like there have been calls in the NFL that I disagree with until Ed Hockley would come walking out and would explain it. This happened and this happened. Therefore, it is not pass interference. Or this happened and this happened. Therefore, it is it is not targeting. And it's the same thing. I think in this situation is that every job we do, we have to meet certain job performance standards. We just do. And except for Angel Hernandez, but that's something entirely separate for another day. But but if you should have to explain, not in a closed room where no one can hear what's going on. There's too much money. Fans are too crazy these days. You just have to explain it. Like, it is this penalty, and this is a penalty, and this is why. It's not offside, and this is why. Because 4 and 3 at this particular moment, how break it down however you want, but it needs to be broadcast openly and transparently to remove the idea that there's any sort of shenanigans going on. And that's the problem, is that an honest error can turn to conspiratorial thoughts when a certain amount of the cover up, becomes worse than the crime.
Right.
So let the data, put all the data out, put all the information out, all the evidence out that showcases why the call was made. And then have the clear explanation. This is what we're doing going forward to fix the process. You're not getting the points. I think that's great that Liverpool's like, look, we're not trying to get a replay. We're not trying to get, all we want is for the process to be fixed. And I think that that's perfectly fine. And I don't particularly like Liverpool, but that's fine. But I think that what they're asking for here is very justified. Just fix the process.
Well, and at the same time, I would anticipate, Jarrett, that you don't want officials taking 8-hour flights to adjudicate a match in the Middle East and then turning around and coming in and flying back in Friday night for probably the largest match of the weekend on Saturday afternoon, our time, Saturday late afternoon, their time. I don't think, that's a lot of folks are looking at the conspiracy of, Manchester City and their ownership and UAE and this and that. I think that the larger issue is flying 8 hours to adjudicate a match, then flying back 8 hours in short order to be VAR and AVAR, where I think at times you got to be paying more attention than you would otherwise because you're staring at a bunch of monitors and you've got to get everything squared away.
Yeah, it's the thing that we talk about here a lot, in that, you want officiating to be better. You want officiating to be better everywhere. This is not good enough, and you need it to improve. So how do you do that? You start with the education at the lower level, but then you got to figure out a way for other countries to do it too, because you can't then spread good resources too far thin.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of a fuss this would have made if it wasn't one of the big six in England. And, bellyache all you want about that, but look, those teams do carry gravity. That's just a fact. You can be upset about it, but the bigger clubs carry more gravity. Their voice carries further over the crowd. So they're able to do this. And
this was Burnley and Luton Town later today, and we had something.
You see about it, you hear about it, may not be the same quantity of loud noise flying over the waves.
Yeah.
It's my thing.
Yeah.
That said, if it leads to something good and it leads to, not stretching your resources thin and people being better at their job, then great. But yeah, kind of like, go and release the tapes, Nixon.
Yes.
But release the whole tapes.
Yes.
Let us know how everything sounds.
Yes.
Let us hear what the thought process was. They have every right, to me, to be upset because, again, it's not a playoff format in England. They could very well, this could, impact the league title itself. This could impact Europe. It could impact where in Europe they go. It's got a very big impact, very big financial impacts. And one of my biggest complaints was with Nick, you and I were talking about the Sunday night game, the football game, the NFL game, with how horrendously it was officiated. You can't have these leagues getting in bed with gambling companies this way and have officiating that is impacting results. You cannot have it, because if you got people throwing down hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on games and your officials do not know how to call the game efficiently, you create any bit of doubt, then you have even bigger problems than you had before. When you're on one hand, let's say the NFL, for example, suspending players left and right for gambling, but also, this suspension brought to you by FanDuel. How many clubs overseas have betting sponsorships on their shirts?
Yeah.
You can't be in bed with them that big and have this many problems or this many questions, or God forbid, you get questions about, you know, somebody being honest about their officiating job versus being incompetent. And you don't want incompetence either. But you definitely don't want the former. That you don't want a Tim Donaghy situation in England. That would be amazing to watch unfold, for the record.
It would.
I think Jarrett nailed it. Is that there's too much money, there's too much stupidity out there, and you can't have that kind of those kind of transactions out there taking place and then have your officials doing this. It just can't work. Fundamentally, the sport cannot work. And I don't know, maybe Vince McMahon was ahead of the curve on everybody with this, right? But I mean, you can't, how can you, I don't know how you can gamble and look at look at Monday Night Football and be like, oh yeah, everything's completely on the up. Like what? Or this situation here, right? Like this is. Are we all looking at the same tape? This should be very clear. Nope. Oh, okay, I guess.
Exactly.
Forget me and my money then. But it's the process, and the only way it works is transparency. That's it. 100% transparency. You cannot have the secret conversations, on the field, because you will have some idiot out there who'll be like, this is when Vegas made the call. I used to make this joke all the time, right? The refs would huddle. I'd be like, oh, that's Vegas making the call. Hey, guys, look, remember, it's like 8.5, okay? So we got to keep it at this. This is what they want, okay? I used to make that joke. I had to stop making that joke because people started taking it seriously. So, open and honest transparency is the only way forward. That's it. No secret cabal, meetings of the minds behind closed doors, and no umpires meeting at the third baseline to discuss how Angel screwed up yet again.
Angel had 37 out of the strike zone in this particular game. What are we going to do?
Yes, exactly. I mean, it needs to be very clear that this is what's going on. This is the call that's being made. This is what's in dispute. Here's the decision based on the laws of the game. That's it. I think with VAR, they need to have the rules of the game right there, ready for them, like on an iPad, where they can just sit there and go, hold up, let me go. Okay, this situation happened. Swipe, 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 swipe. Okay, yes. Subsection C, Article 12, paragraph 1 clearly states, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we're on the way. I don't know. You tell me how else to do it, because unless you want WWE, this is what you need to do.
Well, and speaking of which, our friends at Yosemar Football, who do some amazing investigative journalism. For those of you that are really deep into your favorite leagues, Castor is the jersey maker for a bunch of different folks, and that includes Wolves in the Premier League. If you were to look on the left sleeve of a Wolverhampton Wanderers jersey this year, there is a website called 6686.com. They are what is referred to as an Asian-facing gambling operator. Sleeve sponsor, official betting partner of Wolfsburg, Lazio, and Monaco. Apparently, according to our friends at Yosemar Football, they are illegally streaming live games from the Premier League, the Bundesliga, Serie A, Liga, and a number of other competitions on their Chinese language website. Basically, if you go to the VPN, choose Hong Kong as a location, go to 6686.com, click 3 times, you get to watch all of these different leagues bootleg from an official betting partner of Wolves, Wolfsburg, Lazio, and Monaco. So yeah, if you want to go to a VPN, click 3 times, go to a Hong Kong website, and have them be an official betting partner on a couple of jerseys and leagues across Europe, That's apparently what our boys at 6686 Sports Online Sports Book and Casino are doing. Problem. They have not acquired the streaming rights of any of the competitions they show on the Chinese website, Color Me Shocked. It has not paid any compensation to the networks of those that they're showing. Thus, therefore, and ergo, it is 100% illegal. It is not just the top 5 European leagues, as long as the site is accessed from outside the United Kingdom. Here's their list. In a single afternoon, here's the deal. 6686.com has live streams of the following: the Prem, Bundesliga A and B, La Liga, Serie A, Ligue 1, the Eredivisie, Belgium, Portugal, Championship, Czech First League, Turkish Super League, Poland, Swiss, Saudi Pro, Austrian Bundesliga, the Ukrainian Second Division, and the Indian Super League. Once again, you got folks that are sleeve sponsors and jersey sponsors, this one group, yet they're just going to go ahead and through their website with a Chinese or a Hong Kong address, they're just going to broadcast everything and bootleg it. Why? Because they ain't got caught. No fee, no registration, no subscription, but it is sure as hell not legitimate. And our friends at Yosemar have, they spent like an afternoon going through all this stuff. Telling UK visitors it's geo-blocked, but it's not. I mean, literally, they go through this entire process talking about piracy and everything. But the idea that a sleeve sponsor, jersey sponsor is just, what the hell? What the hell? We're just going to go ahead and do this anyway and try and catch us.
Well, what are you going to do? It's one thing to talk a big game and like, we're going to shut them down. We're going to go to the courts. Okay, cool. I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah, good luck on that.
The only thing you can do is deplatform them by making it illegal to have them as a sponsor. That's it. That's all you can do. Because if you deplatform them and remove their logo and remove all of that, then at some point they're just going to forget about you, So that's doctor, heal thyself. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you.
But no, it was an interesting piece of journalism that our friends at Yosemar Football do, and they do some amazing journalistic work. And if you are into investigative journalism and subscriptions and you've got an extra couple of bucks, send it their way because they do some really cool work. It was just a story that came across my wire of wires this morning, and it's just like, oh, this was intriguing that you have a sleeve sponsor and a jersey sponsor who at their main site is bootlegging. They're bootlegging stuff and basically sitting there going, yeah, we got like 98 different leagues. Try and catch us on all 98 different leagues. So interesting stuff there. Let me ask you a question, Nick. When it comes to a professional athlete, how young is too young in your mind?
I mean, I know the world of soccer is very different, but
and that's where I'm eventually looping into. But
I think 18 is it. In my opinion, 18 should be it. I know it's unpopular, but 18.
So this weekend, over at the Sacramento Republic in USL Championship, they brought in Davian Kimbrough as a late game substitution, and he was signed to an academy deal, and he's been with the academy since 2021 for the Sacramento Republic. 87th minute, he gets subbed into a match against Las Vegas Lights. Vegas Lights, the worst team in USL Championship. The thing about Kimbrough, makes his professional debut, couple of minutes. He got a cup of coffee. 13 years old, 7 months and 13 days, hometown club. Youngest American soccer player to make a pro debut. It was by a couple of months. But he's been with him since the 2021. He's been with him since 2021. Prolific goal scorer, played in divisions with older players. Named MVP of a prestigious U13 Cup. Allows him to play in the USL Championship matches, continuing his studies at a local charter school. And so it was a win for Sacramento Republic. But 13-7-13. Davian Kimbrough for Sacramento Republic.
To me, that's child abuse.
Okay.
And I'll explain why. My son is 14, right? And look, he'll get on a field with adults and he'll talk trash, but what he has failed to realize time and time again is that there are dudes out there who will wreck you, and they won't care that you're 13 or 14 years old. They don't care. These are grown ass men earning a paycheck. And if they get wrecked by a 13-year-old, do you think that their contract negotiation is going to go well? If the minute I as a player, grown ass man, say, hey, I think I need a market raise, and the team says, remember when you got wrecked by that 13-year-old? Nah, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So what am I going to do? I'm going to make a business decision. And if that means I got to clean out a 13-year-old to keep my paycheck steady, food on my table, and to have to keep from uprooting my kids again, take them to a different city somewhere else to try to ply my trade, I'm cleaning the 13-year-old out. And that we saw the same thing with Freddie Adu. And a lot of people in the Twitch pitch, I don't know, I don't even want to venture a guess on the average age of the group, the Twitch pitch. But I remember I was so excited when Freddie Adu came in and my dad shook his head and said, they're going to kill that poor kid. What do you mean, Dad? These men don't give one damn how old Freddie Adu is. They're going to see him doing all these fancy tricks, trying to show off, and they are going to bust his ankles in half every chance they get. And true to the word, that's exactly what happened. They beat Freddie Adu half to death. And it's this is what you get when you trot these kids out. These kids, when you're that young, you still think the universe bends to your will, right? Like, I want this to happen. Like, I see movies and magic happens in the movies. I'm going to create magic now. And that's great. But, you have yet to meet that immovable object. And it's this poor kid is going to go out there and try this, and these grown-ass men are going to punish him for it. The kid gets told, you're going to play, you're going to go in the game. The kid's excited. Kid doesn't know any better, right? The parents, we're the blanket of parents who say, you know what? I don't want my child to go out there and deal with this yet. It's on the parents. It's on the kid. It's on the kid's coaches. Everybody outside of the kid and the other team need to be called to task for this, because I'm not going to ask my center back to let a 13-year-old blaze past him for a goal. The kid's on the field, you're going to play against them, and you put your hip on them and you freaking flatten them if the time comes, because it's a professional game. There's no reason at all a 13-year-old should be in there. It is freaking child abuse to put that kid in there and have that kid get butchered by grown men. It's not the opponent's fault. I agree with David here. It's not the opponent's issue. It's not the opponent's issue. They got to preserve that paycheck. The team thinks a 13-year-old belongs on the field. That is absolute garbage. I hope things go well for this kid. I really do. I hope it is the storybook, but he's going to run into people who won't care, and they're going to hurt this kid. And when that happens, and when he's 24, 25, he's going to have a ton of miles on those knees and those Achilles. And he's going to look around at mom and dad and say, why in God's name did you put me out there at that age? At some point, it's going to happen. And I hope mom and dad have some real ass answers for him outside of, well, everyone told us that it was okay. Because if you do that, you're just stupid. So preserve your child. Don't put them in this situation. I wouldn't put my son in that situation. And that's me as a father of a 14-year-old. I've seen my kid do obscenely stupid, gifted things on a field. I wouldn't even dream of putting him up against professionals. I wouldn't even dream of doing that because I've seen what happens. So I don't know. To me, it's child abuse. It's freaking child abuse. And I don't throw that term around lightly, but I think it is. I think it's malpractice from the coaches. And I think it's, I've said what I said.
So then, all right, let me go devil's advocate here. I'll play the other side of this equation with you. What about the idea of, much like we see in baseball late in the year, where you bring the kid up from the minors, gets his cup of coffee, gets his at bat. If it's 3 strikes and he's out, he gets his at bat. In this game, it's with 3 minutes to go plus stoppage. You're up against the worst team in the league. You've got a comfortable advantage, and you want to give the kids some reps and what it's like to play first team football. What about something like that, which is what I imagine the post game was all about?
It's completely different. It's completely different. And in my opinion, it's the fact that you're going against the worst team in the league makes it even worse, because there's going to be somebody on Vegas who is probably going to be insulted that you're bringing this child on to play against me. You know, it's not insulting enough that you're taking us to the woodshed, but now you're bringing a child on. Okay, cool. Because this isn't like the minor league situation, because the minor leaguer is earning a minor league paycheck, right? It gets called up. It could be life-changing when that happens. But it's very different whenever you have, like, a pitcher can buzz a kid, right? But a pitcher's not going to buzz. I mean, I don't know, Curt Schilling exists, but you're not going to. I don't think you're going to have too many pitchers who are going to, aim at a kid who would be this young. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like if it's a loudmouth, brash minor leaguer coming up, yeah, you're going to get buzzed off the plate. But this is different because each play you're going to go up against people. Every time like the ball moves near you, you're going to get closed down on. That's somebody who's going to be bumping you, checking you. Somebody who's going to be working to make sure they don't get made a fool of. To me, it's completely different. Completely different. I just go back to the Maradona documentary where all the pressure, where Maradona said, look, we didn't have anything. And then I was the breadwinner of the family as a child. And, we had food on the table. We had lights. We had running water because I was good at this sport. The pressure that Maradona said that put on him was tremendous. And I don't think people understand how fragile a child's psyche is. The pressure that a pressure can, we live this lie where we say iron sharpens iron, and we need that Mamba mentality for a child. And there's a difference between completing your reps on doing suicides on a court, or, doing line touches or whatever, and going against grown men who have something to prove. The pressure on the kid can fundamentally shape them, and not in a positive way down the road, right? It's there's a difference between having a kid deal with some adversity to kind of toughen up a bit, and being put in a situation where, you know, your livelihood could be fundamentally altered because somebody gets mad that a child is playing against them and feels that it's insulting. That to me it's totally different. It's not even the same remote sphere of operations. The risk to this kid's mental health long term, because if it falls apart and the kid gets wrecked repeatedly, do you think that child is going to want to go back out there and keep playing? No, but the kid's going to have all the pressure from the coaching staff who have seen the skills. It's going to have all the pressure from the parents who've invested, I'm sure, obscene amounts of money in this kid's coaching and preparation. And this kid's going to be like, yeah, I'm done. I want to be a kid. I want to go to prom and homecoming. And I see my friends who are doing this and this and making TikTok videos. And why can't I do that? Well, no, you can't do that because, you know, you got to travel to freaking, wherever this weekend to go play. Well, I don't want to do that. Well, you got to do it because you're a professional now. Like, how's that going to be beneficial to this kid's mental health? You know, well, good nutrition, good training. This ain't the Marines. I don't want 13-year-olds in the Marines. I don't want 13-year-olds in the military. I want 13-year-olds to be kids, to go enjoy and do stupid things, you know, and play stupid games with their friends and have the joy of being a child. You only get one run at it. Life is a one-round ride. You buy the ticket, you take the ride. I don't like when kids have their childhoods taken from them, even if with the best of intentions. A lot of horrible things in life have occurred because of the best of intentions. There's a shot at being a kid, not a pro. And somebody can disagree with me. That's fine. If you have children, I'm more than happy to hear that conversation. If not, this is going to be the one time I'm going to do the old man shaking the fist at the cloud and say that you have no idea what you're talking about. Because when you see the pressure that a kid faces on the most ignorantly small circumstances, if this happens again and again and again where this kid gets put into these games, it's freaking coaching malpractice, and it is child abuse, and you're risking that kid's mental health long term. Like, it's no, absolutely not. I wouldn't put a 13-year-old against a bunch of Division I college guys. I wouldn't put a 13-year-old in a USL game. I wouldn't put a 13-year-old in with, obviously football, and obviously not lacrosse, no tennis. I mean, I'm still having issues with the pressure side of the game.
Jennifer Capriati.
Yeah, I'm having issues with the pressure side of the game and what that does to a kid's mental health. Physically, I don't care how big a child can be. Physically, I don't care how well developed they are. It's a child. So, no, to put a young kid's mind into that situation is freaking child abuse. All child abuse ain't physical. I'll tell you that. All child abuse ain't physical. So, if somebody's going to, I don't know. This is a topic that really gets me fired up because I've seen too many times where kids get robbed of childhoods because adults have this. We have this thing where we say, "Oh, this child's so mature, though. This child's so mature for his age or her age, and it's okay. They were able to talk through it and articulate." No, they aren't. A 13-year-old is going to give you the answer you want to hear. If they to get whatever's going to trigger the reward center of their brain is the answer they're going to give you. That's what children do. They're not going to weigh long-term consequences. And parents get lied to religiously by a lot of these pay-to-play soccer orgs that say your kid is so talented, they should play not just 1 year up, but 2 years up, 3 years up, whatever. And within 5 years, these kids are gone. And there's somebody I know who was a scholastic wrestler who was being scouted by like the top 5 wrestling schools in the country and was told, you have to maintain this body weight. You have to maintain this level of competition in order to keep this sort of positive attention on you. And it was July and he was at my house. He covered himself in July. We were in high school. This is July, summer break. He puts on, he makes a trash bag suit out of garbage bags.
Yeah.
Puts on sweats and goes running, right? Trying to make weight in July because, I've got to keep this going. This is what I got to do. Ask how much scholastic wrestling he did post high school. The answer is 0 because he had a freaking mental breakdown because all his life had been nothing but supreme competition. And that pressure of being one of the first people in his family to go to college alone, let alone be a competitive athlete, mentally shattered him because he was a child. Diego Maradona leaves and once he gets free from that insane amount of pressure in Argentina, doused himself in cocaine and prostitutes because the pressure broke him. I don't care. The pressure broke him. Not every kid turns out to be Lionel Messi, and I guarantee you behind closed doors, Messi, Ronaldo, all of them, they have their own level of psychosis that they deal with because you have to be a bit of a nut job to be a pro athlete to begin with. To be that kind of space alien, it's a completely different operation. But not every child is a 0.0001% of superstar athlete. A vast majority of the kids break mentally before they break physically. And that's because adults present one of the greatest lies that have been used to inflict the greatest harm on children. And that is the kid was mature for their age. That's the lie that men use to get out of doing terrible things to children on a regular basis. It's what's used to put kids in prison. The kid knew what they were doing. The kid was mature for his age. Everybody knew it. If we're going to sit there and apply that logic to that end, then we should need to apply it to the other end. For the best of intentions, we need to also provide the same level of protection. Nope, this doesn't work. Sorry. You're too stupid to protect the kid. We're going to do it for you via the rule process. And that's what needs to happen here.
Todd Donovan is the club president for Sacramento Republic, and he was on the field for Freddie Adu's debut. Freddie Adu, dubbed the next Pele, savior of American soccer, all that kind of stuff. So Donovan told The Athletic in August when Kimbrough signed, quote, "There's no need to heap that kind of pressure on him," meaning the Freddie Adu kind of pressure. "This is not somebody we'll be leaning upon to start games when he's 13 and a half or 14. It'll be when he's ready. We'll ramp it up in the right way that makes sense. The pressure that Freddie Adu was under is not fair to anyone at that age, and we won't put that on Davion. He's going to go at his pace, and it's our job as a club to set him up for that through a development plan that continues to challenge him in the right way and puts him in positions to succeed. There's always going to be setbacks, and we have to be cognizant of all of it. He'll be one of the guys after getting his feet wet. It's about understanding that he's there to do a job. It's not just the young kid. If he's good enough, he's old enough," end quote.
That's horseshit. It just is. Talking out of the both sides of his mouth is what he's doing, which is, we're not asking him to carry this franchise. We're not asking him to do this and this, but we're going to build up an entire program around this kid's development. Oh, okay. All right. So he's not going to be thrown into the fire He's going to be put on a slow roasting program, right? That's what it is. You're talking out both sides of your mouth. You can't sit there. He's just one of the guys. Which guys? The first team guys, the reserve team guys, or the academy guys? That's a very, very bland statement right there. Not a lot of detail. I mean, the correct answer would be, hey, he's been working his butt off. We thought we would give this, this is a good opportunity just to let him go out and have some fun in a no pressure situation. And he's going to be back with the academy and develop as all of our academy kids do. And if there's extraordinary levels of talent, then, of course we want to do what's best for the long-term growth and development. But you can't sit there and tell a kid, hey, we're putting all of these resources around you, all of these resources around you to make you succeed. But no rest. Hey, there's no sweat, no pressure. Come on, get out of here with that. Come on, man. When can the kid walk away? Well, God, the team's put so much money and time and energy into getting me ready for this. I just don't know if I love it anymore. But we put so much, we did all this for you. You're just going to walk away? Yeah, I know. I feel terrible about it. The kid doesn't have an out, man. I feel bad for it. Not all cages are iron, man. Some cages are gold, but it's a cage nonetheless. I really, really hope everything goes well for this kid. I really do. Somebody could be I'm being dramatic, but I'm sorry. I've seen this go sideways too many times.
But Donovan said he's been with our academy now for 2 years. For the last year, the academy coaches have been nagging at me and Coach Mark Briggs, the head coach of the Republic, saying, hey, this guy's different. This guy's special. We rely heavily on the academy staff's expertise as they're on the ground day in and day out. I get to see the kids on game days or if they're promoted to first team training, but how strong they were pushing him was unique to us. Ultimately, though, when you look at his record over the past 2 seasons, scoring 61 goals, playing and winning the tournament in Europe, it became clear he was a special talent.
Okay.
Yeah, his dad said him being home was the whole reason for us doing this. We didn't have to ship our kids across the country or to a different state for him to continue to develop here in the state of California. Mm-hmm. Allows us to keep him home and be loyal to the club that actually developed and put all this work into him, and now we get to give it back to them as well. They always pushed him. If he plateaued at a certain age group, they moved him up to continue to work, and then he'll rise again and move up again. So they're giving him opportunities. He's not shying away from the moment, given the age, which in soccer, we're learning if you can play, the age doesn't matter. Of course, we're monitoring it as parents to ensure it's a safe environment, but we all have faith the club are doing that as well.
Oh, man.
Training schedule modified with the club's sports medicine staff in consultation with his family and USL safeguarding guidelines, which lays out a variety of inappropriate conduct and best practices. He'll continue with a mixed training regimen, and this was back in August, that provides him with the benefits of competing with professional players on the first team, as well as the unique development opportunities the academy provides. Also, particular considerations for safeguarding a minor in a professional environment with adults. Let's see, connected to a European club through their owner, Kevin Nagel, who bought Huddersfield Town. Orange County made use of their partnership with Feyenoord. Republic is in the process of arranging plans for Kimbrough to have similar opportunities in Europe, not exclusive to Huddersfield. And as Dad says, that's his dream. It's his goal. We felt that if this is the dream he holds, the pathway we discussed with the club is going to put him on a path to reaching his goal of playing over in Europe and in a top 5 league.
Loyalty and trust to an organization are 2 things that should scare the hell out of anybody. I know I sound like the fuddy-duddy, man. I know I do. And I know I sound like Chicken Little, but I'm tired of sounding like Chicken Little and being right. I'm not saying this is a Foxcatcher situation.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying that. And for those who don't, just please go and Google, go and Google Foxcatcher.
Foxcatcher wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just what I am saying though is that this screams to me coaching malpractice at so many levels. Yeah, the kid's different. Yeah, the kid's different. It's a child. It's a child. People said Brooke Shields was different. This happened on this set. That's like that's child abuse, right? Oh, no, man. Brooke Shields was different. Okay, she developed, right? That doesn't mean she's not a child. What about Jennifer Capriati, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, she's so good. She's a prodigy. She was a child. It's I don't know, man. Whenever the interview. So remember when Venus Williams was being interviewed, and the reporter started asking questions about her mentality and all that, and her dad jumped in,
right?
And people were like, "Oh man, that guy's crazy." I may have been one of the few people that was like, "Hell yes, dude," because you have to guard your kids' minds, because everything they're learning now is like it's like pouring concrete. It really is. Somebody gave me that analogy years ago, and I was like, okay, what the hell are you talking about? And then later on in life, you realize where you as a parent screwed up, but that concrete's poured, man. You can't bust it up and re-pour it. But while that concrete can be, worked and molded and shaped, you have to really do your best to, and you can't guard and protect against everything, but that doesn't mean you need to trip over your own feet in the process, or, create fissures and cracks on your own. Your kid's not a piece of iron to be worked. Your kid is a child, and things are being formed and developed in relationships and how they view the world. And professional sports is a transactional process. It's not a relationship process where, you can only make so many mistakes before the juice isn't worth the squeeze, and then you're out the door and they move on to the next. It's a transactional relationship, and to drop any 13-year-old into a situation where they have to deal with being, this transactional relationship where somebody's investing significant resources in you, so you have to perform at this certain level or you're gone. I don't think that's healthy at all. And there's no argument out there that's going to convince me otherwise. So we're probably beating a drum that I've beaten enough.
Okay, so then we'll go into juice boxes for Champions League today. Two matches at 12:45, 6 at 3 o'clock. Real Sociedad is a favorite on the road at a plus 154 at Salzburg. Union Berlin minus 102 at home, hosting Braga, who's a plus 288. 3 o'clock's Bayern Munich, a big favorite, no surprise, in Copenhagen. FC Copenhagen, by the way, is a plus 1040. Inter is a minus 147 at home against Benfica, who's close to a plus 400. Lens, big underdog at home. Arsenal's a minus 143. Lens is a plus 428 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. Manchester United's a minus 208. Antony could be available for selection in this match against Galatasaray. Galatasaray is a plus 550. Napoli and Real Madrid are within the margin of error. Real Madrid's a plus 160 on the road. Napoli a plus 169. Your draw's a plus 264. PSV is a minus 114, hosting Sevilla, who is north of plus 300. Quick headlines. Real Madrid's taking legal action after they were accused of bribing refs by a former police commissioner. Jose Manuel Villarrejo made the claims in a radio interview where he alleged Florentino Perez engaged in illegal activity involving paying match officials. Barcelona and the former VP of Spanish football's refereeing committee, Jose Maria Enriquez Negrera, were indicted for corruption, breach of trust, and false business records in March in a case brought by public prosecutors. The club has always denied wrongdoing and say Negrera was only ever hired as an external consultant, although the case has since widened amid further charges. Villarrejo claimed to the radio station REC1 Real engaged in similar practices, but it was never pursued. Liverpool is in possession of the audio, by the way, and the VAR officials have not, those two VAR officials, Darren England, Dan Cook, they have not been selected for upcoming matches after the error. No real surprise there. And Jeremy Frimpong has extended his contract with the Bundesliga side Bayer Leverkusen through the summer of 2028. Sebastian Guerra, really cool news for Atlanta United fans. He will represent Colombia's U23 team in the Pan American Games coming up. Really looking forward to that. So great news for Sebastian Guerra. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Before we go, Liverpool are interested in Pedro Neto from Wolves if Mo Salah leaves next summer. Arsenal, Villa, and Atletico Madrid are also keen on Neto. Three-letter paper is saying Manchester United have sent scouts to watch Sporting Lisbon's 22-year-old defender Gonzalo Ignacio. Xabi Alonso focused on remaining Bayer Leverkusen manager after being linked with Carlo Ancelotti's Real Madrid job. That's the four-letter paper. Take that information at your own peril. Barcelona want to sign Atletico Paranaense forward Vitor Roque, who is 18, in January instead of July, with sporting director Deco planning to travel to Brazil during the next international break. Guardian. Concerns have been raised over Everton's prospective new owner 777 Partners after Vasco da Gama, another one of their clubs, failed to meet payments on 3 transfers, costing about £4.5 million. And they're also, Everton, set to sign a shirt deal with Castor, despite Aston Villa complaining about sweat-heavy shirts. There's a sense of irony there. Inter Miami interested in Luka Modric, according to Cadena Ser. AC Milan want Mike Maignan to sign a new contract amid interest from Chelsea and PSG. Nick, that comes from Calcio Mercato.
Sell them now while you can get big money.
Liverpool, keen on Sao Paulo's under-20 defender Lucas Beraldo, who is 19, sent scouts to watch him play several times. West Ham in talks with Jared Bowen over a new contract amid interest from Liverpool. Arsenal have started contract negotiations with Ben White, who's got 3 years left on his £120,000 a week deal. Four-letter paper. RB Leipzig's 23-year-old striker Louis Openda, a target for Arsenal this summer, has a £70 million release clause in his contract, which can only be activated in 2025, according to Philipp Hintze. And Al Nassr is targeting Roma's Brian Cristante in January, once again, courtesy of our friends at Calcio Mercato. Hey, the Saudi Pro League, targeting players and really going to pay a boatload of money for them. Color me shocked. Gee, that never happens in this case.
Never.
From what else has happened over the weekend, Nick, is there anything else on your mind as we get ready for Champions League coming up at 12:45? Sheikh Jassim looks like he still wants to. He's not budging on his bid number at Manchester United, but it looks like Sir Jim Ratcliffe might be budging on his percentage when it comes to his possible purchase of Manchester United as a way to keep the Glazers a part of the process. What a surprise.
You're giving up money or control, one of the two.
Mm-hmm. So that's where we are. What else is on your mind before we go?
I mean, look, nothing too much. Just, I don't know, man. I don't like where we're going. I don't like where we're going with these things, man. Kids, I keep seeing stories about kids having to work at McDonald's when they're like 11 or 12 years old, and and seeing stuff like kids trying to be pros at like 13. I don't know, man. I just don't like it. Doesn't sit right with me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Got to protect these kids. I don't know. Just mentally as well as physically. But, I mean, I think the mental side gets overlooked because people start getting into the back in my day. I mean, like, it's not back in your day. It's today.
Mm-hmm.
Internet access is 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. Kids need a safe harbor.
Yeah.
Be your kids' safe harbor.
And there you
Leave it
go.
at that.
And we'll be back at it again 9:05 tomorrow morning. And it is a midweek whip around, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later, as we look at Atlanta United and Philadelphia. And also, it'll be Dylan and Bart coming back for another go round of national stuff with Soccer for US teases and reffing down here. So, Nick, since you are here, welcome back, sir. Send us home.
Till next time, everybody. Mucha Euro y'all.
What he said. Back at it again 9:05 tomorrow morning.